Hello, everybody, and good evening. I'm Don Arleth, and coming to you live from Warsaw, you're watching World News Tonight here on TVP World. Welcome home. These are the words with which Joe Biden welcomed Donald Trump to the White House. History is happening before our very eyes today. The United States now has its 47th president. So what about the Gulf of Mexico, the Panama Canal, Greenland, and above all, Ukraine? The world is waiting for President Trump's first decisions. We'll have more on that in just a bit, but first up, let's take a look at tonight's headlines. The world's wealthiest and most influential people have gathered in Davos at the World Economic Forum. Major platforms, including X, reached an agreement with Brussels to combat hate speech. And after another victory on the court, Poland's Iga Świątek is chosen as the best tennis player in the world. Donald Trump has formally been sworn in as the next president of the United States, the oldest candidate to ever take the oath of office. It caps off a political comeback widely regarded as being unlike any other in American history, and marks the first time someone convicted of a felony has assumed the office of the presidency. Our chief political correspondent, Aaron Dahman, begins tonight's special coverage.
Taking the oath for a second time.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me.
Donald J. Trump, the 45th President of the United States,
Do solemnly swear.
also becoming the 47th.
During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first.
With Washington's sub-freezing temperatures driving events inside for the first time in 4 decades, President Trump found himself in the same building his supporters ransacked as they failed to overturn the result of the 2020 election he lost. And in his inauguration address, Trump sent a clear message to America and the world.
My proudest legacy will be that of a peacemaker and unifier. That's what I want to be, a peacemaker and a unifier.
From right-wing leaders to tech titans, the likes of Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos all had the best seats in the House. Former US Presidents Barack Obama, George W. Bush and Bill Clinton also showed face. In direct contrast to Trump 4 years ago, Joe Biden kept tradition, first sitting down for a cup of tea with his successor, then joining him in the same limo on the way to the ceremony. But Biden's closing gambit was not all smiles, as he issued preemptive pardons for members of his family and figures threatened with prosecution by Trump. They include Dr. Anthony Fauci, a leading face of America's COVID-19 response. Trump is not expected to bask in the sun for long, announcing he will sign a string of executive orders almost immediately, effectively bypassing Congress. These include cracking down on illegal migration, declaring a national energy emergency and renaming the Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America.
With these actions, we will begin the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense. It's all about common sense.
Some are hopeful in this revolution, and others, like Joe Biden, are putting their faith in a higher power.
Which includes the leadership of...
Now let's take stock of the new president's promises, particularly his foreign policy agenda, which is being closely watched in this part of Europe. Relations between Poland and the United States blossomed during Trump's first term in office. But what can Poland and the rest of the world expect from the president this time around? Sasha Farbach has this next report.
This new face that we now are familiar with, the world according to Donald Trump. So this is now the big question. Everything from China, Russia, NATO. Let's just see of what we know already through some of the campaign trail quotes. So let's pull up the first one now, right now, here, what he said at that press conference back in Florida. Very much about gaining how he would deal with Greenland, for instance. Now, I want to just point to a couple of points here. National security purposes, that's what we need Greenland for. He mentions it a few times, and he also goes to warn. You have China ships all over the place, and you have Russian ships all over the place. Now, there's a theme here. I want to go to the next one because we heard about Panama in his opening actual speech. So let's go to the next slide briefly, and we see it right there. Again, warnings. We need this for economic security. He mentioned that again, so this will have more people a little bit concerned because Panama is now mentioned in his speech very directly. He wants that back. And he says here, Panama Canal is vital to our country. It's being operated by China. So once again, very much how he constructs this is very much also a warning. And this could shape up how he is going to deal with other powers, Russia and China included. So this has come up twice. Let's go also to the next one. So more clues here. This is on the campaign channel as well, very much chastising those who are not paying, what he called delinquent countries in NATO, saying he doesn't matter what Vladimir Putin would do. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want. You got to pay your bills. So not quite understanding, let's say, how GDP defense works truly, but it has been effective and it will continue to be effective because people will be afraid of this. And of course, NATO spending for allies has increased significantly since 2017. Now, is that down to Trump? He will claim that victory for himself. But of course, NATO countries have gathered more money, have invested heavily. So, of course, Poland leading the charge there with well over 4%. So let's go into that a bit more, because I think this is really key here. Poland as that key ally, that someone called that good European, as the country that is spending a lot on defense. Like, remember that 2% average for 32 NATO countries. Poland is stepping that up by 4%, potentially even 5% in the near future. So let's look at what's happened. With his trip to Poland in 2018, very much a lot of close defense ties were established between Andrzej Duda and also Donald Trump. Various agreements. So that troop deployment, during his time in 2019, we saw that rotation increase to 1,000 U.S. troops on the ground in Poland. This also led to another agreement back in 2020, enhanced defense cooperation, very much setting the infrastructure, also the rotational part of U.S. soldiers on the ground. Eventually, that was the idea floated of Fort Trump by the Poles, really wanting a permanent presence in Poland. And that's actually what came later in 2023 with Fort Kościuszko near Poznan in the west of the country. But very much, as you can see, also a groundwork laid here by Trump by huge amounts. Look, $4.75 billion for Patriot missile systems, also a lot of other hardware. Let's look at the next one here, which see some of that hardware that Poland has purchased from the United States already in order. You see the F-35, one of the most high-level combat aircraft. So 32 of those ordered by Poland. The Abrams battle tank also ordered. Also the Patriot missile battery, as I mentioned. But also you've got the Apache helicopters, you've got the HIMARS. So a huge package of huge investment from Poland, from the United States. So this is going to make Trump happy. This is transactional. To see if this will now be enough leverage for Poland to use that, potentially also to continue Trump's involvement in the alliance. So Poland is key. So that security element is going to be really, really vital. And that is a policy that any party in Poland connects with on the defense and security front. All right, so let's go on further. And also, it's not just about defense. It's also about energy and energy independence. Now, very much since Russia cut off that gas back in the end of, or rather after the invasion in 2022, Poland very quickly adapted. As you can see here in this chart, ever since the LNG imports have increased very much, 2021, up and up and up, increasing. Now, there's a hub in the northwest of Poland. One of these ports is LNG in Świnoujście. Now, this is going to be increasingly more and more important for Poland. Energy is key. 3 Cs as well. That's very much also about energy independence. Now, Trump will very much look at this, but Poland, I think, has played a very interesting role here and could do much more, and that's going to be for the defense of NATO and the eastern flank. So we'll see how that truly does play out, and that's all for the snippets of foreign policy that we can already see, and let's see how it actually plays out in the future.
With Baltic security at the top of the European agenda, the Polish defense minister has visited Sweden to discuss cooperation between the 2 largest countries bordering the sea. The main topics were Baltic cooperation and the purchase of each other's military equipment, including submarines. Mikhail van Blumenstein has more.
The visit of the Polish defense minister to Sweden is a meeting of 2 key players next to the sea that holds enormous strategic importance.
The Baltic has trade routes. It holds critical infrastructure and is part of supply chains, especially for energy. All that needs to be secured.
Together with Germany, Poland and Sweden are among the first countries to command the recently announced Baltic Sentry program, each for 4 years. The program was set up after incidents involving Russia's Shadow Fleet. The vessels were already involved in shipping sanctioned oil from Russia under flags of convenience. Recently, vessels have been suspected of acts of sabotage as well. Poland and Sweden, covering the north and south of the Baltic, both play vital roles in defending the sea against such actions.
From Sweden's side, it's both assets from the Marine and from the Coast Guard, 3 vessels from the fleet, and then I think 4 vessels from the Coast Guard, and then one of these airborne surveillance and control aircraft.
Submarines will be vital in defending the Baltic. Not only do modern submarines have sensors that can detect clandestine operations much sooner than surface vessels, they also act as a deterrent due to their invisibility.
So knowing that these very potent and modern vessels are lying on the seabed, listening and being able to also, if it were that bad, to actually counterattack, means that the adversary are much less certain about what they can do and not to do.
The world's most modern submarine.
Sweden's Saab Kockums is one of the companies vying for a Polish tender for 2 to 4 new vessels. While the number of submarines isn't large, their very invisibility is meant to increase the security of the Baltic Sea.
The World Economic Forum's annual summit began on Monday in Davos, Switzerland, with hundreds of world leaders and top executives expected to be in attendance. Joining us now live from Davos with more is our correspondent Oz Chatterjee. Good evening, Oz. Now, what can we expect from this forum this year?
Well, huge topics all around. Obviously, the inauguration of Donald Trump is capturing everyone's attention, but the main topic of this Economic Forum summit is collaboration for the intelligent age. So really moving forward, modern technology, AI, these are playing a really pivotal role in this Economic Forum. Obviously, there are other issues. We've got President Zelensky addressing the crowd on Tuesday. We've also got Syria's new Foreign Minister, Ali Shibani, here, who's also going to be participating in Davos. So we've got about 350 government leaders and 60 heads of state coming to Davos. And also included among that, we've got Ursula von der Leyen, European Commission President, President Trump, following his inauguration. He's also going to be video calling in. So a very, very packed schedule here, with much looking forward. Ukraine high on the agenda. I'm stood right outside Ukraine House. At the moment, we've got a lot of Ukraine-centric events that TVP World will be updating you throughout the rest of the week. But really, the main focus of this Economic Forum this year is going to be artificial intelligence and modern technology.
All right. Oz Chatterjee there from Davos. We'll look forward to your reports this week. Thank you. The European Commission has strengthened its policing of online hate speech by rolling out a new code of conduct signed by some of the biggest names in social media. Our EU correspondent Angela Skujins reports.
The European Commission has announced a new directive aimed at encouraging social media companies report and remove harmful hate speech. It comes off the back of social media companies X as well as Meta weakening their hate speech rules. Now, hate speech is determined by national member states and is problematic content that revolves around sexual identity, religion, gender and more. The European Commission announced that they'd revised their code of conduct, and anyone that had voluntarily signed it will participate in this new program. The program revolves around social media companies allowing watchdogs to review how they audit reported hateful content, and as well as how they progress in removing at least 2/3 of this flagged hateful content in 24 hours. But many in Brussels Brussels are left wondering about the strength of such a directive as companies have signed up to their own volition. But the European Commission is keen on emphasising that the Code of Conduct will be folded in to a wider yearly audit, and those social media companies will be assessed on how they fare in terms of this hate speech. My name is Angela Scoogens, reporting from Brussels for TVP World.
European Commission Vice President Roxana Mințatu visited Warsaw on Monday. This comes as the Commission announced a new support package for Ukrainian children in Poland to alleviate the impact of the ongoing conflict. Our reporter Sonia Agata-Biszczan spoke to Vice President Mințatu and has more.
On Monday, the European Commission announced a special support package of 116 million euro for the purpose of supporting Ukrainian students, children in Polish schools. This is why we came here to the European Commission's representation building in Warsaw to learn more about it. And I'm delighted to say that we are joined for the purpose with a special guest, Ms. Roxana Mințatu, the Vice President of the European Commission. Ms. Vice President, it is an honor to be here with you. Could you tell us what inspired the initiative and what do you hope it achieves?
I think it is clear that we need to invest in our children. Ukrainian children are in a special situation. They had to flee with their families, their homes, their communities, their schools. For a number of years now, Poland has welcomed them in their houses, in the schools. Well, today, with this 116 million euros from the European Social Fund Plus, we are showing that we are committed to invest in the quality of the education of Ukrainian children. And that means that the classrooms, the teachers, the educational resources that are used for their integration, for a better pathway towards education for them, are supported through this money. Of course, what is important to mention is that these children face an important degree of stress as well, so psychological assistance is also included in the package that will be financed through this money. We are supporting children, their education, their future, what kind of citizens, what kind of professionals they will be. It all starts from their elementary training. And with this money, Poland is investing in the future of these children of Europe, which is very important.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mințatu. It was a supreme pleasure to speak to you and to learn more about this special initiative, the package that will support at least 30,000 Ukrainian children in Polish schools. From Warsaw for TVP World, Sonia Agata-Biszczan.
She scored a phenomenal win against her opponent at the Australian Open and won the ITF World Champion Award and had her doping case officially closed. This year is off to a great start for Polish tennis superstar Iga Świątek. Anastasia Yatchenko reports.
In just this time, Polish tennis star Iga Świątek literally destroyed her opponent, Germany's Eva Liss, moving on to the quarterfinals of the tournament in Melbourne.
I'm happy that I played in an efficient way and I felt pretty confident. So, from the beginning I just pushed and I knew that I can make an impact with that.
Iga plays absolutely amazing. She is brilliant. She is very consistent. She is very clever. She can keep her nerves and emotions under control. We can see that the serve the percentage is much on higher level than last season, and the speed is much better.
This tournament will certainly be remembered positively by the tennis player and her fans, as the most unpleasant chapter for the athlete, the doping case, was closed during the match. Earlier, traces of trimetazidine were found in the athlete's body, forcing Świątek to miss the autumn tournaments. The athlete had to undergo a series of tests and explain how the substance entered her body.
After finding the source, we had to prove that the medication was indeed contaminated, and melatonin is a medication that is essential for me.
It's finally over. The World Anti-Doping Agency announced they would not appeal the decision.
The World Anti-Doping Agency has conducted a full analysis of the case file related to the International Tennis Integrity Agency decision. WADA's experts have confirmed that the contaminated melatonin scenario presented by the athlete and accepted by ETA is plausible.
The player herself is, of course, happy with the outcome.
I'm just satisfied, that
I can get a closure kind of, and I can just move on and like finish this whole process, because I just want to play tennis and focus on the tournament. So yeah, I'm just satisfied.
She did everything to solve and to finish that problem, that issue. She spoke about this. She answered on all questions, and in my opinion, it was not her fault.
And that is not the end of the positive events for the tennis player. Iga Świątek and men's world number 1 Jannik Sinner have been named world champions of 2024 by the International Tennis Federation. This is the second time that the Polish player has been honored with this title, the first time being in 2022.
And on that note, we conclude this edition of World News Tonight. Thank you all for watching. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you next time. Good night.